Welcome to the Great Lakes Smoke Podcast Show. What we talk about basically is the love and the passion of cigars, pipe smoking, tobacco, alcohol, brothers chilling out and having a good time, laughter.
Well, how else are you gonna, enjoy a nice bourbon?
And you kind of went animalistic on tobacco buying, haven't you?
And the Rocky Patel Pure and Simple. I don't know, that thing just tastes so good.
Aficionados, and welcome to another great week of the Great Lakes Pipe Podcast Show. I'm actually a little nervous. I'm actually excited and nervous because we have a special guest that I've been so hyped about all week and getting him on board and excited to have him.
He's a famous player, Everybody knows the man. Everybody knows it.
We can say he's a legend for us, and we're excited about it. And in studio tonight, we also have a couple of guests. We have Tim Garrity from the Chicago Pipe Club, and also one of our suppliers of this week's pipe giveaway, When You Stump the Chooch. And we'll get into that a little later. We also have our other very good friend, Jeff Rice, that came up for the trip. And they are both basically pipe aficionados and
nice
simply love our guest stuff. And just to let you all know, especially all the newbies that we really have been having, the crowd, the team, the crew. My name is Ron Pecorini. This is my brother, Bob Pecorini.
How you doing?
Behind the scenes, the Magic Curtain himself, Kyle Gesso.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
The wizard himself.
Yeah. Pay no attention to the man behind the mirror.
Our cousin Frank down in Florida this week, and he'll be coming on at the end of the show doing the famous Stump the Chooch. And,
and that's where we give away this really nice pipe. It's a nice pipe, by the way. Nice thick briar bowl, yeah.
Hopefully Frank doesn't make the question too hard this week. I mean, because we haven't given away one.
Billiard shape, very nice.
Well, Frank doesn't want. Frank wants to make it very difficult for people to win.
Frank don't want to give anything away.
Frank is tough. He's tough, and he's getting tougher. But it is what it is. So what can I tell you? But folks, this evening, our special guest from North Carolina, Eric Stokkebye. How are you, Eric? And thank you so much for joining us
Welcome.
tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for inviting me on your podcast here. That's very nice of you to do that. I'm glad to be glad to be on board.
We're very happy to have you.
Great. Thank you.
Well, what we do, and I know this is your first time on the show, we basically talk about pipes, tobacco, cigars, alcohol, and we truly enjoy ourselves so much that we like to laugh and basically bust each other's balls. That's what we do.
That's a good thing.
We do. We have a good time, and we really just enjoy, I guess you say, the passion of the pipe, of the tobacco, and everything that goes along with it. Just a friendship and the camaraderie of people hanging out. We enjoy it. And I guess we can get to you now because for us, not,
we don't have to talk about ourselves. Let's get to our everybody wants to hear from him.
We're gonna put you up on the pedestal.
All right.
Tell us a little bit about.
Take it away.
Eric. It's yours.
Well, I've been in tobacco pretty much all my life. Starting when I was probably about 7 or 8 years old. I grew up in Denmark with my parents and my father, Peter Stokkebye, of course. And it started. The fourth generation product that I have started in 1882, and it was my great grandfather who was the first generation who started in the tobacco business. And back then, he had a factory and a retail store in the town of Odense in Denmark, which is the third largest city in Denmark. And back then there was quite a few tobacconists and factories in the back type of place. So he started, and it was a production of a little bit of everything. It was a lot of snuff at that time, nasal snuff, and some cigars and some pipe tobacco. And he became quite successful and bought some other companies and really turned it into a pretty good business.
Hell yeah.
So so he was the first guy in our family, and my grandfather got into the business in the 1920s, and he was sent out by his father to Sumatra as a plantation manager for a Dutch company, and he was a manager at a plantation in Sumatra, and that was mostly cigar tobaccos that they grew there,
Right.
and still is. And my grandfather, and my grandmother lived there for about 7, 8 years in the 1920s. And so he became really more of a cigar person. And so when he came back to Denmark later on, he turned the production more into a cigar operation. I mean, they still had some pipe tobacco and some snuff business, but it was really his passion was really more cigars than anything else. And one of his claim to flames was that he used to supply Winston Churchill with cigars, and we got
Really?
letters. Yeah, we got letters from Winston Churchill thanking him, and so it's a pretty cool deal.
That is cool.
Yeah,
Do you
so
still have those papers?
we still have some of those
Beautiful.
letters, so that's pretty nice to have.
Sure is.
And yeah, and he so he was passionate cigar person. Smoked the pipe maybe occasionally, but cigars, back in the 1930s was really coming on strong, and so that was his thing to do. And I remember as a kid, my whenever my parents were having parties, they sent me and my older sister into to their apartment and his factory and their apartment there and retail store, and he used to tell me stories from Sumatra, and how this part of your hand is the best part because his next door neighbors was a cannibal, and that's like a chicken leg. They said the thumb is like a chicken leg, and I was like 80 years old and it's like, whoa, this is crazy. So so that was pretty exotic. This I'm going back into the mid 1960s. I'm kind of dating myself here, but so very exotic to listen to. At that time you didn't fly out there in the 1920s, so it was like a voyage of 2 months on a sailing boat. So quite a story. My father, Peter Stokkebye, he got involved in the business as well in the 1950s and was sent to the U.S. to America to learn about leaf tobacco, and spent I think about that time my parents spent about 4 years over here. My older sister was born over here, and he worked the tobacco leaf and learned about tobaccos and leaf tobaccos. And then he came back and joined the company in late 1950s, early 1960s. And that's really when pipe tobacco was taking off. And so he really put his passion on pipe tobacco and turned the production more into a pipe tobacco production and less on cigars and other tobacco products. So he did that for a long time, and myself, like I said, I was like 8 years old when he took me into my grandfather's factory, and I just became part of the whole thing, and joined the company in the 1980s, and my wife and I were actually living here in the States at that time. I was in advertising in the 80s in New York City for about 7 years, and he asked me to come home and join the company, which I did. And that was great fun. Had a lot of fun doing
Were you
that.
living
And
in the city itself?
I was living in the city in the beginning, and then we lived in Brooklyn for a while as well.
Okay.
So that was a good experience for me, a good marketing experience, if you will. Before that, I should say though, when I was 17, my father did the same thing as his father did to his son. Is he sent me to the U.S. When I was 17 to work a year in leaf tobacco. So I was in North Carolina and Kentucky, and in the early 1970s, working the leaf tobacco, and learned how to grade leaf tobaccos, learn how to buy on auctions and so forth. So quite cool. I remember coming over here. I had my school English, and I worked with a lot of people in the Appalachian Mountains, and I had no idea what they were talking about because I could
That's
not
okay.
understand.
We don't
Still
either.
don't. We still don't.
You're not alone.
And they say that we have the accent.
Yeah,
Forget about
exactly.
it.
So, but it was a great experience, and it's really kind of sort of the start of my life in tobacco, and have enjoyed it ever since. And going further up the years, back in 2012, I was I should say 2000. I should go back further. In 1993, we sold our company to Scandinavian Tobacco Company, and so I got to work with them, a great company, and they sent me to the U.S. They asked me to start a company for them here in the U.S. in 2000. So I moved my wife and our kids over here, and it was just going to be for a couple of years, and here 20 years later, I'm still here. But
Is that okay? Are you all right with that?
yeah, no, it's definitely because I love it. But that was another great experience I had with them, and then I had a hiatus in 2012, and that's really when I decided that it would be, I wanted to do something that kind of was based on my family's heritage in tobacco, and so I started the fourth generation brand based on the four generations in the
fourth
tobacco.
generation, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that started in 2012, and it's been good, very good so far. And we started with the tobaccos, and then later on, I met up with a guy called Peter Nerup, the pipe maker, famous pipe maker in Denmark. We were at an event in Alabama, and we met, and I said, look, I love to have a line of pipes with my tobaccos," and he said, "Absolutely." So we went back and forth talking about the models, and he sent me samples, and so after a while, we agreed on what they should look like, what type of finish, and so forth, and so we just went on from there, and it's been a very, very good relationship for I would say about 8 years now. So
Oh.
so it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great journey. And I wanted to just go back to, so in my hiatus there in 2012, I was out of a job for a while, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to continue in tobacco. So I just kind of looked at the other things, but at that time I decided that, this is my life. This is what I know. This is the people I really like to work with.
Mhm.
And so, decided to start this brand, and it's been good ever since. So
Great. And
Nice.
so yeah.
great tobacco. Do you own now your own fields, or are you buying your tobacco from someone else and just doing what you got to
No. We buy the tobacco from somewhere else.
do? Okay.
Yeah, we do, because it's back when we sold our company to Scandinavian tobacco companies, we were a smaller company of I would say 4 companies at that time in Denmark, and looking, let's say 10 years down the road, we kind of, my dad and I, we saw that it was going to be tough to make it, let's say 10, 20 years down the road, because it's a small industry. And then SCG came to us and said, we'd like to buy you because of exports to the United States and so forth. So I think it was the right decision, but it's always a very difficult decision to make. So, but obviously, I've had great influence in developing the tobaccos that we have on the 4th generation. So it's
Can you tell me a little bit about how you came up with the various blends within 4th generation? What was your concept for each one?
Well, I had some. Obviously, I had some thoughts behind my father and my grandfather, what he smoked. I didn't know my great grandfather, so that was kind of a hit and miss. But the 1855 is an old, mature Virginia tobacco, and that's dedicated to my great grandfather. And I felt that was the right blend for him, because it was an all natural Virginia tobacco with some sweetness from the sugars in the Virginia. And I would in the 1800s, that's pretty much what they smoked in their pipes. It was pretty much it was non-aromatic tobaccos.
Right.
So I felt that was the right blend to dedicate to him. My grandfather, he, like I said, he was more of a cigar man, but he did smoke an occasional pipe. And when he smoked a pipe, he liked an aromatic. And so the 1897 is a aromatic with some black Cavendish Virginias and a little bit of vanilla and some honey to it. And I felt that was kind of what I had in mind that he would smoke.
All right.
Yeah. And then my father, which is the 1931 flake tobacco, my dad loved flake tobaccos, and he was a big smoker of flake tobacco. So that was definitely something I had in mind, that I want to dedicate the 1931 to him, and it had to be a flake tobacco, and it's a nice burley with some Virginias, classic navy flake, and so I felt good about that. So that's, yeah. So I did have, I kind of had their person, their characters, their, what I would think that they would smoke, or my great grandfather would smoke. So I had that in mind when I developed them.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So
just out of curiosity, do you remember
Sure.
some of the names of those older tobaccos that were being produced by your family?
Yes. There was one called Look, Look, which is long gone. There was a tobacco and a cigar line called Alderman, which was doing my grandfather's name. But all of these were pretty much just sold in Denmark. So they weren't really exported to any other countries. Exports like in the 1950s, 1960s was really not a big thing. That was kind of rare in those days, unless you were, a big company or something. So, but when my father,
New York had some incredible smoke shops that had tobaccos from all over the world.
Yes, that's true. And so when my father got involved and started the business, he got lined up with a gentleman in New York City, Sherman, and it's not Nat Sherman, but it was Milk Sherman, and he had an import company in Queens, I believe. And
Okay.
him and my dad, they made an arrangement where he would import his bulk tobaccos, and he was really the first importer of Peter Stokkebye pipe tobaccos. And I'm going back to like the 1971, 72, that area. So a long time ago.
Well,
And
I remember a big shop I used to frequent a lot back in the 60s.
mhm.
It was called Wally Frank.
Oh yeah, Wally Frank.
Wally Frank's actual warehouse was in Queens, in Woodside, Queens. Was
Right.
that a connection?
It wasn't at that time, but it became. So
Okay.
after my father had dealt with, or after they broke up their relationship, Milty Sherman and him, my father went to Wally Frank at that time. Actually, I think yes, it was Wally Frank, and the gentleman who was running the company for him was Larry Weinfeld. So Larry Weinfeld, they had their company. They moved it, I think, from Queens to Long Island,
Hmm.
and they since moved it to California, and it was called Hulk Roar. And they were the importers of the Peter Stokkebye for many years, probably 20 years, I would say.
Okay.
And Wally Frank, Larry Weinfeld were great friends of my father. They did develop a great friendship, and I knew him very well too. Wally Frank was a brilliant business person. He was he was a fantastic person in terms of registering trademarks, and one of his claim to fame was the Romeo and Juliet trademark that he had.
Oh, okay.
And so later on, and now I'm going to the 1990s now, Hulk Roar was sold to Altares, or at that time, it was consolidated. No, it wasn't consolidated. It was Habitampa. But they all became one company. And Wally Frank sold the company to them, or his son, Steve Frank, actually was uh, back then, and made a ton of money and did very well. But yeah, I do remember great company, great people. I mean,
Yeah, it was
and
one of
that's
my favorite places. I mean, me and two other friends of mine, that was like a Saturday thing for us to go to Wally Frank's
mhm.
and Wilkes Pipes on Madison. There was another place across the street from them on Madison that had
Yeah,
old imported tobaccos. I mean,
yeah,
stuff you had never seen anywhere else. But
right.
Wally Frank, they used to get a kick out of us because we were like 14 and 15 years old. And we used to go in there and we would talk about all this pipe tobacco. And here's all these older gentlemen all just standing around us, listening to us, getting a kick out of these little kids talking about Latakia and Farik.
That's great
And
fun.
they loved us every Saturday.
Yeah,
Oh, help yourself to all the tobacco you want, you know. You didn't
that's
have to be
fantastic.
21 back then, but
Yeah,
yeah, it was
yeah,
like a big thing. We were, little kids sitting there smoking our pipes, talking to these guys.
right. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I remember that was the one on Sixth Avenue was I gotta I'm I'm getting old. I can't remember stuff anymore, but the one
When
on
that
Sixth
Sherman
Avenue.
was over by Sixth, I believe, right? Nat
No, it
Sherman.
wasn't Nat Sherman. Nat Sherman was always on Fifth Avenue, but on Sixth Avenue it was I can't think of it, but it's now a Davidoff store. They sold to
Okay.
Davidoff
Okay.
5, 6, 7 years ago. So, but a great pipe tobacco store,
Yeah.
fantastic pipe tobacco store. So yeah. Um, and
I
then
remember
you
with
have
Dunhill on Fifth Avenue, you used to be able to go in. In the back of the store was all the tobacco.
Yes.
They would mix up tobacco for you. Tell them what you
Exactly.
want. They would mix it right there. And of course,
Yeah.
they had all their tins and tins that were not available on the general market.
All right.
They had my mixtures, like my mixture. I remember specifically, it was my mixture number 10. It was only available in that store. And it
Wow.
was heavy, heavy English. And
Mm.
I used to bring it to Italy to my uncle, who just loved that tobacco, and it was unobtainable there. So
Fantastic.
that was the thing, my mixture number 10. I used to remember that all the time.
Mm.
Nice.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Those
Yeah,
are days where you could get that kind of stuff.
I
Not
know.
now.
No,
They don't even sell tobacco in the store anymore, Dunhill.
No, no, they don't. They
Well, they don't
stopped
even sell
making.
anymore. They're not.
No, they don't. They don't. I remember. Well, I think that the last good pipe store in New York City is Vince Nastry stores downtown Manhattan, Barclay Rex.
Oh yeah.
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 So he's still around, but
They have a little satellite store near Grand Central too, 42nd.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
I bought a couple of things there last time I was in the city,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not like before, where every block had a tobacco store.
I know. Yeah, yeah.
Brick and mortar.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Brick and
And
mortar.
talking about brick and mortar, Jennifer and Chris are doing the reopening of Arlington Pipe and Cigar this Friday night, folks.
Oh,
So all
Oh
you
wow.
locals,
All
yeah,
right.
all you locals get down
That's
for
awesome.
the reopening Friday night.
are we doing a podcast or?
I don't know. Jennifer, are we doing a podcast?
Jennifer, what's this? Slipping it on past us?
It's like, we're nobody no more,
Wow, hey.
Jennifer,
that's great.
what's going on?
That's great to hear. That's great to hear.
It is good. Finally.
Yeah,
With all
yeah.
this craziness that's been around with the virus and all, I'm glad
I
we're getting
know.
back to a normal state.
I know. But I've been talking to some. As a matter of fact, I just went to a famous pipe store here today, McCraney's in Charlotte, and they two brothers. They've been around for a long time. And I asked him, how's your business been during this crazy time? And he says, actually, it's been pretty good. So
Oh,
people, people have been stepping up curbside or whatever, but his business been okay. So, I think
You said the name was
some
McCrady's?
McCraney's.
McCraney's.
McCraney's,
Are they
yeah.
online?
I don't know if they do online, but they do. I mean, they're regular brick and mortar retailer and been around for, yeah, probably 30, 40 years.
Oh, good.
So yeah, so that was great to hear. And other retailers that I've talked to during these times, they've actually been doing okay. So hopefully they'll all make it.
I gather they're pushing your tobacco, right?
I'm hoping. I'm hoping.
Talking about your tobacco, Jeff Rice here tonight, and he brought a tin, and I don't know if you see that. Proper English.
Oh yes.
Proper.
Papa English.
Yeah. So,
Well, actually,
that was under Scandinavian, right? That's Lane.
yeah.
oh, it's Peter Stokkebye.
It's on. Well,
Right, but sold by Lane now, right?
yeah, it's sold by Lane now. So what happened when we sold our company in 1993? Peter Stokkebye was a trademark, and the trademark Peter Stokkebye was actually brought over to Scandinavian Tobacco Company, and hence, so the Peter Stokkebye tobaccos are now under the helm of Scandinavian Tobacco Company, and so they're sold through them.
Wow, so you
And,
can't even use your name.
I cannot use my name. No, when I started the fourth generation, I wanted to put my name on the labels of the tin, and I said, well, I should probably ask Scandinavian Tobacco Company if they want to do, if they are okay with that, because they have a lot more money than I do. So
You mean a lot more lawyers than you do.
and they said they didn't think so. So I decided not to put my name on there. So, but which is
All
fine.
right. Everybody
Yeah.
knows who you are.
And we got a
Yeah.
question for the audience over here.
Question
Okay.
What's
comes in.
the question there, Mr. Tim?
So, Governor Stokkebye, tell me like a great pungent aromatic. I mean, the kind that'll drive most pipe smokers away from me. All right, I want something that smells like rich vanillas. What do you got for me? What does fourth generation have?
He wants candy cane, you know?
Okay.
Candy
Well-
came and nobody near him.
There's two of the blends that come to mind. One is my grandfather's blend, 1897. It's a really nice Virginia with some black Cavendish, vanilla,
I think
and
I
honey.
have that.
And I think that's that, and mild. It's an all-day type smoke type
you
of
go.
blend. So that one I think you will
Yeah.
like. And then there's
He's
my
excited.
year 1957, which is a mild Virginia blend with a little bit of vanilla essence to it. So that one you might like as well. So that's the two that comes to mind when that you should try.
Here you go,
We'll
Tim.
do this
Yeah.
Friday at Arlington Pipe and Cigar when they reopen.
There you go.
There you
And
go.
All
so
right.
he says Arlington should have it this Friday then.
Is that your birth year? 57?
That's my birthday in 1957. Yeah. I'm getting up there.
I'm older than you.
Okay.
52.
Bob is older than dinosaurs.
In fact, I think I used to hang out with your grandfather.
There we go. Kyle is showing fourth generation what?
1957.
1897.
1897. Yeah. That's
Okay.
a good blend. Yeah. I think you'll like that. I really do.
I have a
So-
question for you, Eric.
Sure.
When you were working in advertising in New York City and you
Yeah.
finally made the move back to Denmark to help your dad in the company, what are some of the skills that you brought back with you to help your dad from a whole different standpoint?
I think what I learned living in New York City and in advertising was really marketing and learning how to launch products and packaging and so forth. And that's really what I took away, I think, from my time in advertising. I worked
Madison Avenue. Yeah.
And that really helped you when you started the fourth generation.
also, yeah, I mean, I look back at my time in New York City as a great era of my time where I learned a lot. I worked for many years with R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company.
Oh, sure. Yep.
They were a big client of the company I worked for.
Who did you
and,
work with in Manhattan? I did a
That
lot of-
was a company called Liba Katz. They were just like a one-office advertising agency, but had like 200 people. It was a pretty big agency. We all worked in the GM building right across from.
I drove
so,
the
Yeah.
plaza.
yeah.
I used
right
to go in
across
that building all the time when they used to have all the cars on display.
Exactly.
Love that
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. So, and before that, I worked for a different agency called Bozell and Jacobs. I don't know if
Oh, yeah,
they still
Bozell.
exist.
Yep. I
Yeah.
know. Yep.
And one of their clients that I worked with was Jockey Underwear. And that was
Food of
great.
Balloon. Food of Balloon too.
No, Jockey Underwear. And that was great fun because
There you go.
their spokesperson was Jim Palmer, the
Yeah,
pitcher for the Orioles.
that's
So I
right.
met-
Yes, he
and I met-
was.
Yeah, I met him many times whenever he came to photo shoots to shoot in his underwear. And then
Did
he
you
get
turn him on to pipe smoking?
no, I couldn't. No, he was not a smoker, but he gave me free tickets to the Yankee stadiums when he went up there.
Oh,
to
wow.
pitch.
That's
And
nice.
it was,
There you
it
go.
was fantastic. Yeah.
Good
I loved
enough.
Yankees
Yeah.
all the way.
Yeah, exactly. It was fantastic. So, and then there was a funny situation also. I was also for a while on Vanity Fair women's underwear. And I remember I had to go to Bloomingdale's and check out pricing in the lingerie department. And
59th Street.
here I was, like 20 years old, checking out women's underwear in the lingerie in Bloomingdale's.
You must
And
have
all-
gotten some
and all
strange
women-
looks.
all
getting
women
dirty
were
looks?
looking at me.
Yeah.
What's this kid doing here?
So you're the original pervert of the store.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
That's why we
and
have
they-
security
and-
cameras
and
now.
By the way, they never allowed me to go to any of those shoots.
Oh man,
You weren't 21.
Yeah.
So we have one of our regular listeners, Andre.
Andre.
Yeah, he wanted to say the store that no one could remember was the De La Cocha.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
There you
That's
go.
correct.
Andre
Yeah.
scores again.
Very good,
Yes.
Andre. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
De La
but-
Cocha,
Good thing
yeah.
I didn't put that on Stump the Chooch. I
Yeah.
would have gotten that one too.
Hey, Andre,
Yeah.
we don't say Mets on this show, by the way. Except
Oh, Mets,
Frank.
Andre. All right. I'll get you another pipe, Andre. Don't worry.
Oh, because he said Mets now.
Yeah,
Here we go. Favoritism.
I went to the World Series in 1986 with the Mets,
Oh.
and a colleague of mine in the ad agency, he said, "What are you doing tonight?" I said, "Nothing." And he said, "I have tickets for the World Series," and I went out there, and that was the game where what's his name?
That was
Buckner
Mookie
dropped
Wilson and
No,
and
the
Buckner?
guy from Boston.
Bill Buckner dropped the ball at
Buckner when he
first
went
base.
through
Exactly.
plays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Great
Yeah.
game.
Buckner.
Great game.
Yes. And I don't think I was very popular because I remember I took my Yankee jacket and put it on there when I went to the Mets game.
And you didn't get beat
Yeah,
up.
you're lucky you
I
didn't
did
get a
not
front
get-
egg stat.
Well,
Yeah. So
Nice.
good memories.
yeah,
Great
New York was a
memories.
lot of fun.
Do you ever go back at all, or?
I've been back. Yeah, I have. I've done, like I said, I've done events with Vince Nastri. I've done some things with Nat Sherman as well with the New York
Okay.
Pipe Club. So I've been back several times, and I tell you, I love to go back. It's been a couple of years since I've been back, but I love to go back. I love the city. You know, it brings back memories. You know, so
Oh, absolutely.
Nice.
I know we're born and raised there, so I
Yeah,
know.
but-
yeah.
It's changed a lot for us, I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
Not the
Yeah.
New York we knew, but it's
Yeah,
still
exactly.
an interesting place, nevertheless.
Yes, exactly. No, it's.
Now, do you
changed a
go
lot.
back for the New York pipe show? Are you usually
I
invited
have
there?
not been. No, I have not been to the New York Pipe Show. The pipe shows I usually attend is obviously
Ours.
Chicago, which is
Ours, of
important.
course, the biggest in
Yeah.
the back.
The biggest and the best. I've been to the Las Vegas show, Kansas City a couple of times, and then
You do Ohio?
Richmond. I haven't been to the
Oh,
Ohio
Richmond,
yet.
yeah.
Yeah,
You gonna do
Richmond.
Richmond this year? Because we're
Uh,
going.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing that.
Okay,
You
that's
know, I was
great.
invited last year, but I had a conflict. So, yeah, I love to do that again.
And we
That-
will see you there this year.
Fantastic. Love to do
Great.
it. Yes. Yeah.
By the
love
way,
to
since
do
I
it.
have on, I'm going to put both Kyle and Frank on the spot. Kyle and Frank, you're going to come to the Richmond show? Just so the audience know, October 2nd and 3rd, we got to get a hotel room.
Get out there.
As long as I can get the time off.
I put it in now. We'll leave Thursday, Friday, Saturday, come back Sunday night.
When is it? Is it October again?
October 2nd and 3rd, Friday and
Okay.
Saturday. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Not being
Cool.
rescheduled.
No, it's not being
I
rescheduled.
got an email from a couple people down in Florida. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we just had Jeremy from Sutcliffe on 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
2 weeks ago? Yeah,
Yeah,
2 weeks
2
ago.
weeks ago.
And he said, no, it's all set, ready to go.
Yeah,
They
he's
have,
actually
more vendors coming down. It's really at this point, because of all the other cancellations that's been going on, it's probably going to be the show of shows
For
of this year.
Yeah, it'll
I
be
was-
a big.
Everything's
yeah.
been canceled.
and
I would
Jeremy
think so,
even
Yeah.
and Jeremy even
would
said
think
he's
so.
got 250 rooms blocked already for that
Yeah,
weekend. So,
if
Wow.
you better book your room.
Yeah,
Make sure you
Andre,
have-
don't look for the house. Stay at the Omni. That's where we're staying. The
Okay.
Omni is going to be the center piece. There's going to be shuttles. Jeremy set up from the Omni to Sutcliffe.
Shuttle bus
Um,
directly to Sutcliffe, back and forth.
Wow,
it's
excellent,
nice and
excellent.
easy, because parking is a problem. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, you
something
have to
gotta
mention that you're there for the show, so
For
you
the
get
show.
a discount rate.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
okay.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
something-
Okay. That's good to know.
What's the word?
What's the word? It starts with a C.
C. We'll think about it.
Chooch?
No, not the chooch. You don't have to mention the chooch. The chooch is coming up here in a minute here on the show.
But you can go on the website. I think all that information is there. There's a code word to give them at the hotel, so you
Okay.
lock in at the show
At the
rate.
Omni? Okay.
Which will be
Okay.
Swingers Paradise.
All right, Andre comes through again.
Andre,
Yeah.
wow.
And by the way, Andre, if you don't want to hang out with us here, you go rent that house. We're going to be at the Omni. The word is conclave of Richmond pipe smokers.
There you go.
Okay.
Corpse.
Conclave. Okay.
There you go.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
Cool.
you, Andre, once again.
Well, we
So
hope
we'll
to see you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys go last year?
No, we
No.
didn't. This will be the first time for us.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Yeah.
So
No,
it's
that could be
gonna
fun.
Big. Yes, it should
Yeah.
be. It really
Yeah.
should be.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Uh, they didn't ask you to become a vendor to bring your stuff down, or
Not yet. Not yet.
Well, why
but,
don't you give them a
know,
call and tell them?
I
if you
should.
can,
Yeah, I
tell them you
should.
want to be a vendor. This way they can
Yeah.
add you to the list of vendors.
Yeah, exactly. I should. I should.
It is
Yeah.
growing.
Yeah, exactly. No, they did ask me last year at the IPCPR, but like I said, I had a conflict. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, because there's so few shows this year, so this will be a good
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
for sure.
what is new? What's in the future for you guys? Do you have fifth generation coming up?
Well, there is actually a fifth generation. Maybe you
Uh-huh.
guys want to have him on the show one day. It's my son Max. He works for SUG Lane, and he actually pushes Peter Stokkebye pipe tobaccos,
Okay.
and lives in Atlanta, and so he's there and works with pipe tobacco.
Okay.
So he's the
Yeah,
guy.
if you can set them up with us and let us
Yeah.
know, we'd love to have them.
Definitely.
We'll have
Yeah,
them on.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
I'd like to really know a good pipe shop. They closed the last.
Tim's saying he goes to Atlanta a lot, and he likes to know of other pipe shops because the one that he goes to is shut down, right?
Yeah.
Closed
What you
permanently.
said?
So Tim is looking
What was
for
the
a
name of
place.
that
Maybe
store?
your son
Okay.
might know some, and we know we have a lot of people down in the area down there too. So
Okay.
we can get more information out to our listeners.
Yeah, sure.
All righty. All
Sounds
right.
good. Sounds good.
Anything
Yeah.
else that you can?
Well,
you know,
we're
let us know?
we're working on a couple of new things. We're working on a new tin, new
You are?
flake
Okay.
tobacco. So we hope
Nice.
to have that out in the fall. And then
Can
we
I ask
actually
you what kind of a tobacco it may be?
it's a Virginia flake.
Okay, nice.
Nice Virginia flake, mature Virginia. So we're working on that and hope to have that out sometime October, November. And
Good.
then we also have 3 bulk tobaccos coming out under the
Oh.
4th generation name.
Okay.
One
Very
a
nice.
morning blend and a morning blend, which is going to be an aromatic.
Okay.
And then we have a afternoon melange, which is going to be a nice English blend. And then the evening smoke is going to be a nice burley and Virginia flake.
Wow.
Okay.
So
Wow.
three blends coming out probably right around the same time, late fall, early or late
Before
late this
Christmas,
year.
to
So just
say the
before
holidays.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, they'll
So,
make nice gifts then.
They would make beautiful gifts.
I'm
Yeah.
putting them on my list right now.
Well, keep in touch with us so we can promote that and get that out to the crowd, and
Definitely, we'll do that.
we'll go from there. All
Sounds
righty.
great. Yeah, love to do
All
that
right.
for sure. Yeah.
Audience, do you have anything else for
Any-
Eric?
Any other questions coming in? Anybody have anything to say here? Wow.
Mhm.
Everybody's so quiet.
We have
Yeah.
been basically talking about it and all, but all good. Eric, we definitely want to thank you very much for coming on board.
Thank you.
I know you're a busy man, but we really
Well,
appreciate it. And
Yeah,
we
thank
do
you
hope
for
we
having
can
me.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we can get you again before the release, so
Yeah.
we can promote all the new
Well,
releases.
maybe at the Richmond show, we'll talk about
Yeah,
it.
that's,
go.
It
that's
might
yeah,
be around that time, right?
No.
So
yeah.
you'll have some samples to show us.
I would, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, no extra podcast down there.
We will be doing a podcast.
Yeah,
so
we're bringing the
bring
podcast
some tin.
through.
Bring some
Okay.
tin.
Fantastic.
And
I'll-
don't forget about talking to your son to see.
Yeah, we'd like to have him on.
Give him our
yeah,
number. You can
definitely.
try to
I
get
will
him.
let him know for sure. I'll
Okay,
pass
terrific.
on. I'll pass on the information to you, Ron, since I have your phone
Yes,
number.
thank you.
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
For
So
sure.
great.
All right.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
taking
Mark.
the time
Yes,
out to
thank you.
talk to us and
Thank
giving
you.
us a
Thank-
history of your
Great story.
family.
Thank you. Well, great to be.
We'll look
Great to
forward to those
be.
new tobaccos.
Thank you. Yes, and great to be on board. Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
No, it's our pleasure.
It's been a blast.
Kyle, do
yeah.
you want to say anything to your mentor here? Another pipe signing
I
or
just
something?
I got that
Oh,
1897
he's
pipe
showing
right
it off.
here.
There
So,
you go.
yeah,
There's
see?
the pipe that you make and sign for him.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is.
Very nice. Eric, thanks again. Appreciate
Thank you,
your time.
buddy.
Okay.
And
Thank
we'll
you.
talk to you real soon.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Have a
Rick.
good night.
So long now.
Bye
You too.
now.
Bye now.
Folks, Eric Stokkebye from fourth generation. Wonderful guy, lots of fun, a lot
Yeah.
of knowledge, and over 100 years in the making with a family. What a story.
Yeah.
What a lifeline.
That is
in
truly
tobacco.
a tobacco family.
Yes.
I mean, that's all they did and still do.
Yeah,
Which is
the-
remarkable.
Everyone's still in the biz.
It's a legacy. It is. It is. That's a
Absolutely.
very nice pipe I see you taking out.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
So anyway, folks, a couple
Oh,
of things.
that?
What do we
Frank's got a new
little
graphic.
bit of sponsoring talk to do, Kyle. How about let's putting on a couple of our sponsors?
all right. Go.
folks. If you take a look at the board, basically our sponsors, I
No
guess,
marking.
was from last week. If you had joined us on the show, we had the co-owners of DAV Cigars. We had Armin and Val on board, and super guys. Really, they've been with us from the start, and they have a wonderful cigar line and a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out new for them. So DAV Cigar, folks.
Yeah, check them out, man. Good cigars. Very good.
Also, we have in-house, a matter of fact,
Oops.
from the Chicago Pipe Club, Tim Garrity, the treasurer, who has been our big supporter of the pipes that we give away here free on Stump the Chooch.
This is the pipe he's donating tonight.
Tell your friends looking to get into it. It's a free pipe.
Very
It's a
nice
free-
billiard.
There
Look
you
at those
go.
thick walls on that. That is a nice piece of briar, man.
Chicago Pipe Club trying to spread the word.
That's it.
Absolutely.
And you can join
Always
the Chicago
looking for new members.
Pipe Club no matter where you are.
Yeah.
You can be part of us and keep up with the latest in the pipe industry, and of course all the shows, and especially next year's Chicago Pipe Club. It's the biggest in the world, 350 plus vendors, and all of us. So Chicago Pipe Club. Also, folks, we have another vendor, a sponsor,
Sponsor.
RNA Treasures from Tampa, Florida. Randy and Anthony, who also are suppliers of pipes to give away. Check them out, folks. If you're just getting into the pipe world, this is where you want to start for picking up new pipes. And if you are a regular pipe smoker, they've got so many out there. Take a look. Prices are amazing. Fantastic specials all the time. RNA Treasures, LLC from Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, and don't be fooled by the prices. The prices are ridiculously low, but the quality is very high.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
And-
I own about 20 plus pipes of theirs.
And they're not going to be running out of pipes anytime soon. They've got a warehouse
No,
full.
no, I would say they got about, I don't know, 10,000 pipes there. I mean, they won't be running out anytime soon, but you should be running out and getting some pipes from them, though.
Yeah,
So,
they just
you
had
know-
a Father's Day sale going with their pipes too. It was 50% off. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's even-
you could probably get a pipe from them for like $2. You know,
it's
like
ridiculous. Ridiculous.
ridiculously cheap.
And you know what, folks? We do have a company that wants to be our sponsor that has sent us something new. It's called the Bourbon Bullet. And what it is a
9 millimeter that you put inside your whiskey.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically that's what it is. And this is what it is. If you see it, it's in the bottle.
I don't know
It
if
is
they can
shaped
see
as a
that.
9 millimeter. It's shaped as a bullet.
That ain't a
Okay.
9 millimeter.
That's a
It's
little
more-
bigger than
more
a
like
9 millimeter.
Yeah.
Like a 50 caliber.
That ain't a 9 millimeter. That's like
yeah.
a 50 cal.
It's actually a
It looks like a
338
tank
Lupa.
round.
It's really a 338 Loop, okay?
Oh,
Okay.
these
That's
are
what
the
it
people
is.
that they gave us the $6,000 to be a sponsor, right?
How did you get six? I thought it was only $6.
Well, it was-
How'd you get all the circles?
I can't say. No.
Oh, wow. So anyway, they just invented this. Two veterans, and it comes in a little packet, and this is what they kind of look like. If you want to look closely here,
Little bullets.
little bullets,
Not little, but
and they have a hollow inside. So they have different tastes. There was, let's see, we have the flavors here.
So what do? You drop those into your bourbon
You
bottle?
drop it into,
yeah, you fill it up with reefer because they're blunts. And once you smoke this whole thing, you don't care what you're drinking.
So you drop it into your favorite whiskey or bourbon. It takes take a sip of it each day. It's designed to you like the taste of it, and you can use it again in 2 more bottles. It basically gives these are made from mature bourbon or whiskey barrels. Works like a new bourbon barrel, only faster. Removes the burn and makes bourbon smoother.
Wow.
Adds deeper and bolder bourbon flavors. Folks, this is brand new on the market right now, and it's got 3 different flavors. And I saw it somewhere.
What's this one? This one tastes pretty good.
It has an oak flavor. It has, just bear with me because again, this is all coming out today.
Which is this one?
Let's see if we have a breakdown here. It's,
Let's try it.
let's see. I saw it somewhere before early, so I apologize. I should have had it a little bit ready. I thought I had it all written down, but with so much going on with Eric, so I was excited to get on board with him. It is an oak flavor. No, I just don't have it.
Well,
with
what
me.
it does basically is it enhances a more, I don't want to say cheaper blend, but you know, when you make up like that bathtub mixture, you put this in.
The
and all of a
bathtub
sudden
gin.
the stuff is like great, you know. Sold in all
It
speakeasies.
adds a
all over the
little
place.
smoothness.
Yeah, it gives you a little maple, little oak, little cherry. They have a little markings here on each one of
It
what
is
you
the
want.
cherry there. Yep.
Yep. And the
Wait,
one that we
Where they
tried
come
here.
from Canada? That's the maple leaf there.
Well,
That's it.
that's
Well,
maple leaf. Yes, that's I said maple, oak, and cherry.
Yes.
So again, we just got it. They want to be our sponsors. We have to first take a sip of it. I dropped it in yesterday, so we'll see what the flavor feels like later. And you too, if you're interested in becoming a sponsor, we're always looking for sponsors. Drop us a line or send us a sample.
Or send us a bottle.
bottles
And-
are best.
And then we could see what do you call, see what's going on and see if we can help you about it. So we'll let you know. We got this bottle brewing, and we'll give some to everybody else. I
Pretty
gave
good.
originally
Yeah,
what
it's
it
good.
was. That's not it yet. That's the
No,
original bottle.
This is the
Oh, you
original.
just
No,
you,
he
you
just
poured it
poured it.
already?
Yeah,
Oh.
we just.
So you had the
both took it.
first taste, which
Yeah.
was the original without it.
So tomorrow we'll
Did-
sample it again.
Did you taste the difference already?
Yeah.
So basically, in 24 hours, one of our people here in studio just said that it was a different flavor
Yeah.
from yesterday's. Well, from what it really is, and actually, it's called Heaven's Door. It's a Bob Dylan signature line. It's
Ooh.
Tennessee bourbon, straight bourbon whiskey.
Wow.
So which really tasted good. But I did drop the bullet in here last night,
Put that bottle
and
down.
Jeff
I
is
don't
the
think
first
I
one,
need
and he
it
says it's really
anymore.
tasting better.
Knock, knock, knocking.
Yep,
I'm not knocking it. It's pretty good.
yep. And I'll get a sip of that in a second. So, folks, again, so if you'd like for us to take a look and see what's going on with your product, drop us a line at Great Lakes Smoke Show at AOL.com or Facebook us on PM, and let's hook up. We also will be having another sponsor next week, and that's going to be about dealing with smoke aroma in your room to make it all disappear. And we'll talk about that next week.
So,
All right.
So Anderson windows are coming?
Actually, it's called it's going to be called Without. Without. And we're going to talk about Without. And we'll talk about it next week. So we'll see how that goes. And we'll talk a little bit further about it. Okay. So getting back to what we got here now is time for Cousin Frank Stump the Chooch. And what is Stump the Chooch, all you new people? What it is basically Frank has a bunch of questions that is setting us up and asking us and try to see if we can answer it, or we're going to look like three jackasses. And that's what Chooch is in Italian. Yes, there's the three jackasses, and
this smells very
that
nice.
one in the corner we don't know.
That's me.
Oh wait, that's AOC. No, I'm sorry. So anyway,
What color was George Washington's white horse?
black. So we already know that.
This smells very
Anyway,
nice, whatever it
Yeah,
is.
well, we'll work on that next week.
Okay.
And so we're going to go to Stump the Chooch, and like I said, Frank is going to ask us a couple of questions. We're going to try to answer it.
On this day.
On this day in history, you know me and history, it's all about giving you guys imparting knowledge, because I know you guys have very little of it. So I figured I'd give you some of mine throughout throughout my long hours of homework and study. So this week in history, maybe it's today, maybe it was yesterday, it might be tomorrow.
And we got Andre on the line, so you got to be exact.
As long as it wasn't from the New York Times.
That's why
There you
I
go.
clarified
Yeah,
it.
no New York Times.
They're rewriting history.
Yeah, the rag
Yes.
times.
Sometime around this day in history, back in 2016.
Ooh, okay. More
All
modern
right, not
day.
too. Maybe Bob can remember this, because although his short-term
That was a
memory.
long time ago, man.
The UK voted on a referendum, and the vote went 51%, 51.9%
Brexit.
for, and 48.1% against. What was this vote for, Bob?
Brexit.
Well, actually, Kyle answered it already.
He said
Kyle,
what are you
knows.
doing there? What are you massaging?
Oh, it's a
He's
dog.
massaging
A
the
dog.
couch.
All
No,
we
the
see is his hand going.
He was massaging the couch.
So Kyle said Brexit.
Yeah, Brexit, no. Brexit,
Brexit.
yes.
We know Ronnie, and
Yeah, you're making
Ronnie
fun of my
assumes he
accent
can't.
again.
He can't.
Just
Jeff
a
had
little
it
bit.
good.
Just a little bit. Okay, on this day in history, 2006, only 10 years before 2016, Bob.
Whoa.
All right.
Wow.
American television producer whose credits include a number of hugely successful shows.
Spelling.
The Mod Squad. Look at this guy. Without
You
even
have to
saying
finish
it.
it.
I don't even have to finish it. Bob is all over it. Bob is pop culture king, I call him.
Absolutely.
That's it. It's just, I figured I'd give you guys all the easy ones tonight to make you feel good. Last week you were kind of feeling down about yourself. This week,
Yeah.
it's I want to give you a little bit of a boost.
All right.
All right, one more for you three clowns.
All right, folks, get ready because it's coming up next.
1940. This sprinter was the first American woman to win 3 track and field gold medals in a single Olympics.
Ooh.
And she was born on this day.
Is that it?
Who?
No, Whistle Dick McGillicuddy. Jeff, you're wrong. Sorry to say that.
It wasn't McGillicuddy?
I'll give you a hint. Her first name is this. She shares a first name with Fred Flintstone's wife.
Betty.
Betty White.
I didn't know she was running track and field.
Hey, she was only 20 years old back then.
Betty is Barney's.
First of all, you guys don't even
It's
know
Wilma.
your cartoons.
Wilma
Fred
something.
Flintstone's wife was not Betty.
Wilma
Rudolph. She was the
There
first
you
American woman to
So
win 3 gold
She was
medals.
part of the Flintstones and the Christmas
Exactly.
cartoon.
You had to put the two together, and you would have got the answer.
All right, folks. So we got the chooches out of the way. Next question.
Is this for the
Everybody-
pipe? Is
What's
this
that?
for the pipe now? This is for the pipe.
Yes. this is
Okay.
for the
And,
pipe.
and Kyle, would you take a look and keep close eyes on the Facebook to make sure we get the responses on them, please?
We're trying.
Start the clock
I'm
as soon as
trying.
he finishes the question.
All right, this is gonna be a visual. So you know
Oh.
what I mean? This is a famous person smoking a pipe. You have to tell me who it is. All
Okay.
right?
Where is
Not
it?
you, Bob.
Where is it?
It's coming up.
Not you, Bob. Shush.
And this is for the audience, not
There
you.
you go.
Oh, yes. Bingo.
I know that guy,
Jeff is taking
Kyle.
a
It's
look.
Kyle.
There you go.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Famous.
I mean, really, that's an
Come
easy
on,
one.
everybody knows
All
that.
right. Come on, you got 1 minute, folks. Here we go. This is going to
Nobody's
be
answering. It's not
Keep
that
an eye
easy.
on Facebook. I'm not seeing anything.
That's what I said.
We have Van Cleef.
Van Cleef.
By who?
Andre
Yes.
got it in first.
Andre, of course.
Andre got in first.
All right, Andre.
Okay, but what movie was that picture from?
Aha.
That's. All right, Andre. Congratulations.
Andre got that. That was an easy one, Frank.
I was giving Andre a pass because of his Mets comment.
Oh, that's why.
Oh, man.
Andre, you owe me one.
Have mercy.
Andre, I think I should get one of those pipes sent to me from you. We can do an end run.
There
Nobody
you
will know. I
go.
won't say anything.
And what was the name of On the Grave? In the Good, the Bad, and the
It wasn't
Ugly.
my name.
No, that was the other movie. But in the Good, the Bad, the Ugly, what was the name on the grave?
The name was I thought it was Tug McGraw.
Tug McGroin. Nope, wasn't Tug McGroin.
Tug me groin.
Unknown. Was it Jack Meehaw?
It was gymnasium.
It was right next to the other grave. What was the grave? What was the other grave? Stanton.
All right.
Ah,
Well, folks,
that's one of my favorite movies, man.
we could be talking about those movies forever. But our show is going to come to an end.
Already. Wow.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Wow,
mean,
that was a fast 20 minutes, wasn't it?
it did go quickly.
Yeah.
Anyone got anything to bring up to talk about for the show?
I don't know. Anyone for tennis?
No, just
Kyle, you got anything new going on at the cigar lounge there?
no, like
That
I
place
was.
is pretty
We were
empty, man.
we were
You
talking
gotta do some
earlier.
Advertising. You gotta
Yeah.
get some bodies in there.
We were talking earlier about the Oliva deal that I just took part of. So I got that.
Oliva deal?
Yeah, 10 Oliva cigars, the travel humidor, and a lighter for $29. So I took
Wow,
part
what
of
was
that. That was on Thompson's website.
Thompson's. Okay,
yeah.
very good. They
So
always have some
Nice score.
pretty
those
cool
those
deals.
are coming in tomorrow. So I'll see how those are tomorrow, and probably partake in a couple or few because I got like a half day of work for what change. So
I think you'll enjoy them. Those are the cigars that they don't humidify during the
yeah,
year.
right. Yeah.
By the way,
I looked at it as a way of that I've got a travel humidor and a new lighter for $29, and the cigars were a bonus, whether or not they smoke.
That's a good way of looking at it.
And
That's a
hey,
good way of
and
looking
hey,
at it.
and if those cigars don't work too well, hey, I know a guy. It works for Oliva that might be able to hook me out.
Oh yeah. Complain to him and tell him you want new ones.
And he was on the show tonight.
Oh, was he?
Yes. He
Yeah,
checked in.
yeah.
Oh, he checked in. Huh? Good.
By the way, we also been invited to Saturday afternoon for
In the park?
grand opening at, and they would like very much for us to do a podcast at Arlington.
Oh,
Saturday afternoon.
Wow, Saturday.
So Kyle, let's talk off air and
I
see
gotta,
if we
I
can.
gotta cancel all my plans then for that.
So many plans.
I did. I have so many.
We'll take a look at that off the air. But folks, once again, we want to thank you very much. We hope you had an enjoyable evening and enjoyed our special. Eric was fantastic.
Oh yeah,
That
good
was
guy, good
really
guy.
good stuff, and we really enjoyed his company. I hope you enjoyed his story, and hope you enjoyed our show. So till next time, keep on smoking. Thanks for all the support. It's been great. The newbies, thank you for coming on. And for our special guests in studio, Jeff and Tim, appreciate you coming on board. And you're always invited. Till next time, everyone, keep on smoking, keep on drinking, keep on having a good
trucking.
time. There you go.
Salute.
Keep on living. Salute, Frank. Talk to you later, buddy. All right. Ciao.
Good night.
Now we can have an after party.